India Legal makes the difference because we bring you only the news that counts.
India Legal, stories that count.
Hello and welcome to another special readout from India Legal magazine. As you know, we are the nation's first political legal independent weekly focusing on controversial issues of national and international importance. The video readouts we present to you regularly are the editorial team's choice of the most significant stories we believe should receive close scrutiny and widespread circulation. You can watch them along with the visuals or listen to them as you would a podcast. In this latest readout, we focus on events that could shake and perhaps even rattle governments and nations. I am referring here to elections. Voting is in the air. Voters and ballots have upset apple carts in Brazil, like strongman Bolsonaro has met his Waterloo at the hustings. In India, 6 by-elections have already taken place in several key states, and 2 upcoming mega statewide elections in Gujarat and Himachal in India could alter political dynamics of the world's largest democracy. Let's not leave America out of this story. There too, November is a time for political reckoning. There's going to be a lot of voting in the US of A as the citizens of the most powerful nation in the world choose a new legislature. In America, the word Congress means the legislative arm of government, the House of Representatives and the Senate. It's not the name of a political party as it is in India. 2 parties compete for power in the US Congress, the Democrats and the Republicans. In this readout, I will concentrate entirely on the US election story. Even as I present this podcast, American voters are determining which party controls Congress for the last half of President Biden's first term. Democrats now control both houses and the Senate narrowly. The Washington Post says what was once widely expected to be a wipeout for their party has turned into a competitive battle. It's possible that Republicans pick up one or both chambers of Congress or neither. Now, the Post is an iconic paper, but why tell this story using the Post when we have India Legal's US roving editor Ken Tiven reporting for us? Tiven was not only the Post's foreign editor, but also one of the founding vice presidents of CNN News. His unique writing style embraces both the print language as well as TV and broadcast scripting. If Tiven writes an article for a magazine, for example, you don't have to modify it for use on the air. You don't have to change the passive voice into active declarative sentences or eliminate extra commas and subclauses. You don't have to shorten sentences to make them more listenable, can I say, or listener or viewer friendly. So what follows with no changes or adaptations is a direct readout from Tiven's latest piece written for India Legal. I start with Tiven. Patrick McGrath paced the crowded meeting room, lecturing us non-stop for 2 hours. Slides on a giant screen came from the 64-page election handbook we had to read and understand. Many in the mostly middle-class audience were regulars, people who volunteered to man the 1,300 voting precincts every 2 years. This Allegheny County, this is in a county in Pennsylvania, one of the large states in America. The Allegheny County, Pennsylvania voting official asked for no questions until he was done. Some, like this journalist, this is Ken Tiven writing, so this journalist, meaning Ken Tiven himself, were first-timers, hoping to see the inside of the election process after decades of writing about politics. To put us at ease, McGrath told 100 of us that on election day, 98% of the votes will not have an issue. For the 2% who do, the answer is always a provisional ballot. Give them provisional ballot, it will be qualified and counted at the central office. This reporter, that is Ken Tiven, wanted to experience the election from the other side of the voting desk. Now, this is entirely voluntary in most American jurisdictions, but there is, and the pay here is $175. It's a small fee. Along with 3 others, I will manage a precinct in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The rules regarding everything are spelled out in detail. It takes about 6,000 poll workers at 1,300 polling places in a county, which is like a small district in India, with a population of 1,300,000 people. Poll workers are not asked about their political beliefs, but we all swear an oath to uphold the laws and the rules. Elections in the USA are run by 50 states through their local jurisdictions. India and most nations have a national election run by a national government organization. After reading and understanding all the checks and protocols, fudging the numbers would be near impossible at the precinct level. The paper ballots are fed into a scanner, which is where the vote casting occurs. There are 2 parallel memory cards. Nothing is attached to the internet ballots given out, but are carefully counted. And compared to the scanners, this is compared to the scanners count. Any spoilt ballots or a ballot which is also known quote unquote uncast are also accounted for, and everything is returned to the central office. McGrath, our mentor, electoral mentor, makes it clear nothing goes into a wastebasket, leaving no opportunity for media images. Voters are allowed to take a selfie picture of themselves voting, but nothing else. And in America, a voter's finger is not inked as we have in India, but you do get a sticker that says, "I voted." The 2022 elections are underway, with many Americans, mostly Republicans though, worried that the outcome might be determined by election fraud. And this has been a non-stop grievance from President Donald Trump, despite lacking evidence to support his loss in 2020 to President Joe Biden. In fact, before the election, the 2016 election, Trump complained about voting fraud. His campaign had begun as a marketing gambit for his own real estate ventures, not expecting to win. I mean, that's the first time when he ran. But surprise, he won. By complaining non-stop since losing in 2020, he preserves for his most loyal supporters a measure of hope for 2024. A companion effort is non-stop effort to raise money for whatever he wants to do with it, with the money he raises. Since he's not a candidate at this time, no election rules apply. It is comparable to being a busker. Any election any election deniers sound like Carrie Lake, a former local news host on an Arizona TV channel. She is running for governor. Asked by a CNN anchor if she could accept losing, Lake said, "I'm going to win the election. I'm going to accept that result." Asked again, "If you lose," she robotically responded, "I'm going to win the election and I will accept the result." Now, Arizona is not as Republican as it was 2 decades ago. Biden won Arizona in 2020 in a surprise victory, actually. A chaotic recount organized and paid for by Republicans concluded that Biden received more votes than he was credited with in the official count. Both political parties can assign poll watchers. This requires prior certification of the people who will observe and can complain if they see something they think is amiss. In Pennsylvania, the mail-in or absentee ballot counting starts 1 hour before the polls close. Some results will be known by midnight on November 8th, which will be 9:30 Indian Standard Time on November the 9th. Congressional control may change or it may not. That means who runs the Senate and who runs the House of Representatives, whether Democrats or Republicans. As I explained earlier, right now it is narrowly in control of the Democrats, who are Biden's party. But anyway, President Biden is in office till January 2025, no matter who controls Congress. A fuller picture of what America decided and what it means is not likely to be clear for several days, if at all. If recent history is a guide, the losers will shout about rigged elections and fraudulent voters, heading to court asking to have the ballots recounted. Republicans have been running against the Biden administration, hoping to block Democrats' ability to pass legislation. From a policy perspective, the Republicans are against most economic programs such as the Social Security, Retirement Fund, and Medicare programs, which benefit 134 million Americans. Mostly their talking point has been inflation as a major American issue, despite the fact that it is a global economic phenomenon. The roots are clear. The pandemic impact on supply and large corporations taking advantage to raise prices. The last time the US had wage and price controls was in 1971, when Richard Nixon, a Republican of Watergate fame. Perhaps the most important issue this year is what a very conservative US Supreme Court will mean for multiple issues. Its recent decisions, especially the one removing national abortion rights, are a major influencer in moving the people's votes. As the final week unfolds, the horse race characteristics of elections dominate the media. It isn't that simple. Despite not being officially on any ballot, Donald Trump, the former president, is on voters' minds as the de facto leader of the Republican Party. Control of Congress in the House and the Senate is likely to be a very close call, although some pundits think Republican bravado about how well they will do is just that, bravado, and not likely to materialize. The polls, no matter how much effort goes into making them a balanced reflection of the larger electorate, are easy to game. One Republican friend explained to me that he answers all phone calls in the hope of being polled, because he tells them that he's a Democrat and so unhappy and so he will vote the Republicans this time. He made clear that this is an organized effort by Republicans to skew the polling, to create an aura of invincibility. An election this past week in Brazil defeated a Trump-style right-wing authoritarian who believed he would win a second term. Was the race as close as the 1 percentage point difference? The fact that most of the political leadership in Bolsonaro's party readily accepted his loss suggests to this reporter that whatever efforts there were to judge the vote or suppress turnout did not work as planned. As they say, the best laid plans very often just go up in a puff of smoke, to change a metaphor. This is your host editor, Inderjit Badhwar. I'll see you again in another video, and until next time, goodbye for now.
India Legal, stories that count.